to welcome everybody to the January 28th, 2020 Planning Board meeting, our first meeting of the year. I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. We've got some new alternate members on the board tonight. I'd like to welcome them and look forward to having a good, productive year. So that said, I think we'll start with BAR 1217. This was 49 Spring Street. JB?
Yep. I think this is, have the, this was just the corner we were, yeah. So we're trying to find symmetry for.
And again, this was a previously approved BAR.
Right, we had, there was an issue because of the sidewalk, so we had to put a corner on the.
Jeff, Jeff kind of raised the question, we thought that, getting the additional elevation with that sort of angled piece would hopefully kind of give everybody the comfort locating the modification.
So the remaining change was the corner before was blank, and since there's an angle of the building about 4 feet wide, to add some symmetry, we added a window, and we brought the same trim around, so it doesn't stop.
So there is no more angle, pretty much, it's just straight
Well,
out the window?
No, there is the angle there, which is added the trim to it.
Okay.
So it wraps around, basically it's gonna wrap around the corner.
Can you just refresh our memory again? So the line of the existing sidewalk cut the corner of the building off,
Right.
and so you
You know that
shortened
instead
or
of, what we did is,
did a cutout.
right, so we did a cutout basically following the existing sidewalk. It is a small line, the line of the sidewalk, and that's what we did with the commercial. The last time we were here, we didn't have a window there, and the trim had stopped before we made the turn. So now we should draw a window, and we extended the trim around it. So when you come down from Spring Street, you will see that as well.
Is it a light? I'm sorry. Is it a light fixture that we're seeing?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think, what's helpful for me is looking at the sort of the proposed first floor plan. You'll see that sort of angle on the front right corner. You'll see it kind of angled back, and I guess that is occupied on the proposed right elevation by this, I guess you'd call it a window, JB?
Yes. Right, so basically we followed the line of the existing sidewalk. And we're bringing the trim that we had applied and approved previously in the front, we should brought it back and around the corner.
And what are you doing with the roof over that, where it hits the corner, because you've got that awning?
Well, the roof, we're gonna keep it straight, so it's gonna have, so we can put a light.
Okay, well, I know, so will it be flat though, because where the building, you're not really showing the chamber on the underside, or is it just gonna be flat up at the top there?
It's just gonna be
a larger
flat, so
soffit,
yeah.
a deeper soffit?
Yeah, so we can put a light maybe in there. And it's still, that one, it will be over the sidewalk, but it won't be above the property line.
So again, this, what we're looking at here, JB, that's sort of on an angle, where even
Yes.
though it appears
Yep.
as if it's linear.
That's one of the things that Jeff made, but he had asked that.
Yeah, Mike, you can see it on this one.
Yeah, and it actually helped too, looking at the floor plan, because you see the, the
Yeah.
actual angle on the corner, so. A little tough,
You know
but
this electronically, right, should we?
Yes.
Do we know, I know Jamie's not here tonight, she does this, do we have,
Yeah, I don't know
do
that
we
she
know if we have it, do you want it
much.
up on the screen?
my understanding is, I guess it's on, it's there if somebody wants to
I don't know.
manipulate
You wanna
the
pass
mouse or
We'll
whatever.
give it a shot, see if we can.
This right here?
Yeah, it's probably in that, no, in
No.
the PD
Have to go
folder.
back.
I think that folder right there.
There should have been planning board or? You have two different folders?
The end of- not
We're talking
No,
about
that's not
job
even-
training, you know, this. Just show up, we'll throw 'em right into the mix.
No, and those projects, even those projects not on tonight, so.
there. Would it be under the November meeting?
So, yeah, so basically, all of our, files are digital, we just have to figure out the right one to open, and you'll see the elevations of the site plan or whatever, so.
Can you go up, see it says move to 2019?
December.
But again, whatever we approve here will be available to the public. You can
Yes.
go to the village website and, go to the planning, building department, access it that way too.
No, we're not looking to start construction right away in this
Yeah.
anyway, so which is when we.
Yeah, this was a very minor pickup
Yeah.
that just needed to get dealt with, very minimal percentage change in the overall
Mhm.
project. So that said, anybody from the board have questions
Yeah,
regarding it?
It's a hydraulic elevator,
Not sure if it's gonna be a hydraulic elevator. but-
so is there going to be an elevator machine room shown on the roof?
I don't think we have this fascia that they will come, but right now, no, we don't think it's gonna be an elevator machine in the roof. We should have a meeting with the electrical company, they have these hot splits, all these different system that doesn't require the hydraulics and that.
So not a piston type elevator, hydraulic would be just
No, it's
cable
not,
or-
it's not, it doesn't require, I'm not sure what the term, but it doesn't require
Okay.
the pistons.
Right, because obviously with the hydraulic, you need that
Yeah.
extra space to make up.
Right, you
top
need
of
the
it.
penthouse, and we don't have a penthouse.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions, comments? Seth, you good? Anybody here from the public to speak to this application?
Which one is this?
This is 49 Spring Street. It was a minor elevation change on the exterior corner of the building. Okay. That said, could I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve?
Bobby, could I have a second?
Second.
Then with Albert? Laura? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thanks, Chippy. Next is Planning Board 6-19, Hunter Street, that's Sing Sing Prison Museum.
Good evening, everyone.
Sure.
How are you? A couple of developments since the last time I was here.
the mic.
Okay. Sorry. Is it? A few developments since I was here last time. We have been able to, and I have a map here tonight, we just received from Joseph Link, the land surveyor, a meets and bounds description of the property, which I can leave for you. Now, this is the description that we were going to give to Sandy Galiff on the bill to transfer title to the powerhouse to the village. Okay, and I have the description and the acreage. The acreage is 1.6150 acres. I will leave that for you here. It's pretty much the same outline that we had talked about before when we walked it, okay? And we have discussed this. I haven't sent this over to the correctional facility yet, but the dimensions are 43 feet from the boundary of the wastewater treatment plant out is what the prison had asked for, and we were able to accommodate them and still put that parking in that area in front where the preview center would enter. Okay, and one last thing I do want to show you, I meant to bring it tonight. I apologize, but I have it on my phone as a picture if you'd like to see it. Just the museum was successful in buying a baseball that was used in the 1929 game with the Yankees and the inmates, and it's signed by Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig.
Great.
And we're authenticating the ball right now, so we have that in our possession. Pretty cool.
Great, that's good stuff. So my understanding is you guys are still trying to finalize a lease between the museum and the village, right?
Yes.
That's sort of in the works?
Stewart has sent that up to the state. The state responded back in December, and I know Brett Glass had a conversation with them a couple of weeks ago. I think it's pretty close to being finalized. It'll be in front of the village board soon, I understand.
Okay.
Once the lease is settled, okay, you know, we'll have that area in front there that we need for the parking for the preview center. That'll be included, and once that's done, that'll go to the dormitory authority, and then they'll start the process to grant disbursement agreements.
Okay.
The plans and specifications for the preview center work were completed. They've been reviewed by the village. They're pretty much set to go. And I think the village board adopted the resolutions to authorizing establishing the capital project and getting ready to go out to bid.
Okay.
So if we can move things along at that end, and in parallel with the planning board, this is ready to hopefully move, and the expectation will be by the end of 2020, we'll have the space available for the preview center.
Okay, so preview centers, again, the visitor center, right? It's
That's the
one and
visitor
same,
center,
or is
yeah,
it
that's the
sort of-
first that's the
Okay.
first 2,500 square feet of exhibition space, okay, at the site, and that will put our office down there as well.
And this, again, is gonna be sort of a phased project. We're gonna get this visitor center done first, and then you guys will be back for the other
Correct.
aspects and as you get funding and
Absolutely.
revenue and all that kind of thing, right?
Yes, I suppose what we're really looking for is a conditional use permit, and the conditions are, as we start to get money to expand, as expansion takes place, we would come back to the planning board to show you the expansion, show you the parking configuration, the landscaping, everything as it starts to move forward. Absolutely.
Anybody have any questions on the board, or? Anybody from the public care to speak to this, or have any questions or comments? Okay.
I believe you, I'm sorry, I believe you've also received a letter from the Village's Environmental Advisory Council. Okay, I believe you're correct. That has gone to the planning board identifying 8 conditions. When I met with them, that were concerned to them, that we were fine with, and I was sent to you, so that if you want to include those conditions in the conditional use permit.
Okay. Yeah, I think I recalled seeing that a few months back, and that was sort of, we knew that was, you know, happening, so that's
Yes.
what we.
And then the last thing in front of you is the environmental review. We provided you with the long-form EAF, parking study, financial economic impact study on the project. And it didn't require stormwater, because there's no increase in impervious area at this particular point in time. And we would also need the planning board. You've sought lead agency designation, you've received the information and responses from all of the interested and involved agencies. So we'd ask the board to hopefully consider a negative declaration for them as well.
So essentially, the work for the preview visitor center is all internal within the old powerhouse, other than cleaning up outside a little bit, I think was what you said last time you were here.
That's correct.
You know, that was sort of the goal, you're not breaking ground outside so much.
No, we're going to use the existing blacktop area for parking, just demark it, you know, according to the plan that you see here, and which is what we sent to you earlier. This is just a little bit more formalized now with the meets and bounds
And
description.
you said you dropped off the meets and
Do
bounds?
you want me to?
I have it. Yeah, you can,
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
sure. Be happy to. Well, take it, pass it around. This is the meets and bounds description. This just came in last week. Thank you.
How long we did it, because that was one of the things a few months back, was a report, you know, because they, you know, the EDC kind of. Yeah, I did, we kind of revisited that. Okay. It looks like there's extra copies. Yeah, they'll, Jamie will file it. Any questions from the public with regard to this application? Okay. All right, so I guess we'll adjourn until next month pending some of these other statewide and bureaucratic things getting resolved and worked out, and
Okay,
keep moving this along. But we're eager to, you know, get
Yeah.
this thing done.
good.
Um,
If the board could take into consideration, just so you know, when we met with the dormitory authority a while ago, they were concerned about the environmental review.
Mhm.
So if the board could start to consider a negative deck on that, that would help us with the dormitory authority, knowing that the planning board has taken that lead and taken that action.
Okay.
Okay, then the conditional use permit, we can continue to work on.
I don't think we're prepared to really issue any kind of a secret determination tonight.
No,
Probably
it's
not.
not.
Yeah, I mean, just
I
so
wouldn't
it's clear.
expect, no, I'm not asking
Okay.
for that, but I'm just saying if we can, if that board would take that into consideration,
Yeah.
start to pull that together, I'd be very happy with the council on that.
Will do.
That'd be good.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jerry.
Very excited. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll just give those back. think we'll jump, there's one more, just kind of jumping through the agenda. 65 Main Street and 1416 Brandreth are not happening tonight, so those are adjourned till next month. Cognizant site, and so let's do this BAR 1-2017 Susquehanna Road. The floor is yours.
Good evening, my name is Jacqueline Tyler. I'm the architect. I'm here on behalf of our clients, Donnelly's. I'm going to go ahead and hand these out.
Joe, can you pull this up on
Sure. Help me.
You have to go back up a level. Keep going.
Is it?
What are you handing out?
The renderings.
Yeah,
2020, there you go.
Yeah.
PB, yep.
There you go.
So I'm just passing around some renderings that I believe will come up on the screen, excuse me, as well. So this is a rear yard addition with a deck proposed as well, and a front entry addition as well. The existing finishes will remain as they are, with new finishes to match the asphalt roofing and the siding. And then I also brought the deck sample and the railing as well. Pass those around as well.
Thanks. Yeah, what I saw was pretty straightforward. It looks like you're matching everything.
Yes, there's some additional AZAC paneling, just white paneling to go with the existing siding.
We'll see this new portico over the front of the house, and really that back left corner of the house, if you're looking at the front, this back corner, I guess is gonna be the infill where there was a patio, or?
Actually, that's existing. From the front, it's existing. If
Right,
you
the
flip to the
backside.
second page, yes, the second page, the back is
Yep.
the addition.
Okay.
Exactly. There was an existing patio there that we're pretty much enclosing within that footprint.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, anybody on the board have any questions with regard to the application?
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
What is this? I'm sorry.
That's the decking
Oh,
material.
the decking, okay.
I think it might be the only thing we're not matching.
Well, this looks awful familiar. This almost looks like something close to home. And so, no questions from the board? Anyone from the public here to speak to this application, 17 Susquehanna? Going once, going twice. Okay. That said, look for a motion to approve the application as submitted. Michael, a second.
Second.
Seth, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
And we jump to, I guess, 10 Marble Ave, planning board 1-20. JB?
Alright. This is the first time the board is gonna see this project. This is an existing property, 10 Marble. The property right now has two structures on it. It has a two-family house and a one-family house. Those both properties have been, structures have been pre-existing. They have building permit, and city well for it.
I'm sorry, you said a two-family and a one-family?
Yes, the front house is a two-family.
The front house, so if you're looking at it, the one on the left is the two-family?
It's a two-family and this one family. There's some few, the next picture. I don't know if you can zoom in, those are. Those aerial pictures kind of.
I'm guessing this is the two-family?
Yes.
And that's the one-family cut. Okay.
From what I understand, this house is, the house in the back used to be sometimes some sort of work being done for the cemetery. Then when they took over, they converted that a long time ago into a one-family residence. So what we're trying to do is subdivide the property so we have 2 lots and 2 structures.
Okay.
When we go through the process of that, we have met with the building inspector and reviewed the setbacks of the property. So we end up with 2 different lots, and because of the location of the house and the location of the existing structures and the size of the lot, we're gonna have to go from the zoning board, and we're gonna require
Some setback variances. that sort of thing.
setback variances. I think we had, with the building inspector, we reworked lots 2, so we only need 2 there, but we need like 5 for lot 1. So those are going to be substantial variances. And also there's a discussion about, we end up also needing permission or a lease agreement for board of trustees, because the part of the driveway, because of the location of the house, is an extensive part of the front entrance is in the town right away.
Okay. Which leads into the, I guess, Dale Cemetery?
Yes,
Okay.
and also the, one thing we are doing is, if you look at the picture, right now we kind of reducing the curb cut in half. The existing curb cut is approximately 38 to 39 feet. We're gonna reduce it to 19 feet.
Okay. Kind of decrease some of the asphalt we're seeing.
Yes. So,
Opportunity to green up, get some greenery, some planting, that kind of thing.
yeah, if you, I mean, I don't know if you can zoom in, if you see that picture, it looks like a very wide asphalt. I mean, it's 39 feet of curb cut right now.
So just a couple quick questions and comments and I guess observations. So you've got an existing lot now that's a 2-family
Mhm.
lot. You want to create 2, subdivide, create 2 lots. Would
Right.
both of those be considered 2-family, or would the one
No,
stay as a single family? the other
our
be a-
intention is, we're providing parking for one single residence
Mhm.
in lot 1, and on lot 2 is we're creating 4 off-street parking spaces, because that's gonna be the 2.
And because they're sort of joined, I'm assuming you'll need some sort of easements or some kind of
Yes,
deed
there's gonna be-
language to, give people the ability to get in and out of the property and share the driveway and that
So
sort
we
of
had
thing.
access easement.
And we had comments from Karen Sessions, gone through the comments. It seemed like, very much straightforward. Some of the, I know we have a list of the variances here, but we kind of reviewed those variances as well with Joe, so, Agostinelli.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was just our first take at it. And
Yeah.
obviously, Joe is gonna be the ultimate decider of what's needed.
Right. And, but, I mean, it seemed to be like,
I mean, right now, other than us determining, our intent to be the lead on this, whatever, I don't see really anything else. I mean, they've got to go to the zoning board and,
No, now you've got, we'll be looking for with regard to the engineering and the subdivision. Once you have any
Right.
specific questions.
and I know one of the comments, I don't know if it was here or probably, requested floor plans of the existing structures. I mean, we can create those, but we're not doing any improvement to the existing home. There's nothing, when it's
Right,
spoke to
yeah.
the building department, there's no questions about being 2-family and 1-family. There's
For
no question.
floodplain? I'm sorry, you're talking
No,
about?
for one of the comments, I think.
Oh, floor plans.
Floor plans, yes.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure because that ties into the required parking. So, I know
Okay.
what
And
you're
if you
showing,
need any variances as a result.
Okay.
we just wanted to know what the house, we wanted to see the floor plan so we could support the parking calculations that you show and make sure that you don't need another variance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
great. So anyone have any comments from the board? questions, comments?
I guess I just describe again what you're doing with the driveway. You're going to be narrowing it
Yes.
and then creating a few more off-street parking spaces?
Right now, yes, right now, if you see when the existing parking, you kind of, everybody pulls out of the road.
There's nothing really defined here, it sort of looks like it's just one
Right.
massive lot.
So maybe parking to the left there in front of the building, in front of the two-family, everybody's pulling in right there?
Right,
The
that's what
proposed
we're
parking
doing.
plan is to the left there. I don't know if you could slide that over a little.
Yeah.
Putting you under the gun.
yeah.
Does not
Yeah.
have your iPhone, it's regular.
Right, I see, so narrowing the entrance to the driveway.
This is the street, this is the
Right.
public street.
And then creating dedicated parking spaces for the two-family, and then one dedicated parking space for the single.
Two.
Two.
I guess just where the two, it looks like the driveway for the neighbor is connected right now, but you're,
There isn't a fence right now, and we talked about taking some of the asphalt out or asking for that variance for that. We are reducing the amount of asphalt on the property. You can tell in the picture that the one in previous area right now is very expensive.
And this is interesting too, because this is always this challenge of front yard parking, you know, it is existing. but
Well,
there's-
Well, there's no parking proposed in the front yard setback.
Yeah, which is this piece.
Right.
that's right. That's one of the things we've been because we consider that when we went through we consider that a side yard, or it's going to end up being
Where the parking is, that was Joe's determination, that's a side yard.
because we have the front of the house and the outside.
Yeah, it's interesting, you have a lot of frontage, I mean, that's the thing, there's this wide arc of curb and.
Right.
I mean, I will consult with Joe again if there's another variance. which is- I think
Definitely
we
make
will.
sure that the asphalt along the property line and your plan to just put a fence over that, make sure that,
There is an existing fence, we're taking it, you know,
because I think the Kellard Sessions memo raises that as a potential variance issue.
Right, you can't, I think you said you spoke to Joe about that, but you know you can't have asphalt within 4 feet of the property line.
right, so it's either we keep the
Right.
fence or
Right.
we.
Looks like you have the room to
Yes,
provide the separation and avoid the need for another variance,
Yeah, which
which
we
might
should
be
do.
preferred.
yeah,
A little more green space and
Yes.
actually disconnect those parking
Those two
parking lots that are going on back there.
okay,
Yeah, and in the past, I mean, what we've had to sort of say to the zoning board that we feel this is the best possible alternative. I mean, you know, we're not probably there yet, but, you know, if Joe and Brian, you know, we feel this is the best thing, we'd probably send it over to the zoning board with sort of our blessing that we think these make the most sense.
Mhm.
These, you know, variances to enact so that, you know, we get the best possible outcome here. Okay.
Just one last question I had. There's an existing patio and arbor in the front of the property. It's actually in the village right-of-way
right.
of Marble Place. I don't know if you spoke to Joe about that at all and what
Well,
he thinks
I-
may
I
need to be, if
yeah,
it's
so
either got to be removed or
as-
another license agreement.
Right, previously, we had two driveways serving each, you know, one serving each property, and we have taken the arbor away. And then we were under the impression that we couldn't take the arbor away because it was not on the property, it was in the town right away. And that's what led us to kind of the shared driveway and to be away from the entrance to the old cemetery as well. So I don't think our clients will have an issue taking it down. It's a matter of
They were told they can't take it down?
that it's not in our property.
Whose is it, though? It's not theirs?
Not sure who's, I mean, it's been maintained with them, but it's in the town right away, so if we can take
It's
it.
either the village or the town, I guess, I just gotta figure out who's responsible for.
I mean, again, we would like to take it down, but it's not in our, within our property, so,
Did the village put it up?
I don't know.
A lot of the stuff down has existed for a real long time.
Yeah,
Well, I guess that it could be something that could be addressed when we do the license agreement for the driveway.
Yeah.
but the owner doesn't want it, and the village
Doesn't want
doesn't want it.
Take
If the
Probably
owner's
does not
okay
want
with it, they can just get rid of it. Well, we can coordinate that and ask those
Yeah,
questions.
it does minimal.
Yeah.
Anybody from the public care to speak to this application?
Yeah.
Just come on up and just mention your name and address for the,
Yes, I'm on 8.5 Marble Place on my next one, the driveway next to them. I'm concerned with the water drainage, because right now it's free to just flow through it. And if it's doing a curve or something next to it, then there's a fence now. Right now, everything's level, so I'm concerned with the water from my property, where it's gonna go after.
and you are aware?
Right, the driveway right next to on 8.5 Marble Place.
No, those, that one?
Not across the street.
Where?
Right on the back. Right here.
Across the street.
You're in the property to the
Oh,
rear that
okay,
connects, you're the connecting driveway to the rear?
So there is a fence right now, right?
Yes.
Right now, yes.
Right, so what we were talking about earlier is the code requires a minimum separation of 4 feet between asphalt and the property line, and that driveway would be curbed, so actually by creating that separation,
So
you
you
won't
need to
have
drainage
you won't
or
have runoff
something.
going onto your
Yeah.
property
Yes.
anymore. It'll eliminate that problem that you're talking about.
Okay. All right. So, okay then.
And I think it's not near the lower, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's like a circle.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all the concern. We don't care about the division, it's just we're concerned with the water there, but other than that, we're not against it.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Anybody else? Okay. All right, so at this point, I guess you guys will continue to work on this. Do we want to declare ourselves to be lead agency on this, or do we need to make any kind of a motion, or?
I would do a motion.
Okay. So, all right, so essentially, because it's a site plan, planning board application, we need to make.
And a subdivision.
no,
And a
And a
subdivision.
subdivision, too, yeah. Okay, so we would need to declare ourselves intent to be lead agency, so I need a motion for that. We have a motion.
to declare lead agency?
Okay, Bob, and a second? Alberto, okay. So, all in favor? Aye. All right, motion carried, and continue to work on this one. All right, so, I think that gets pretty much everything taken care of. So, last but not least, 7-19, Birchbrook Manor.
Good evening, my name is Dan Peck from Larkin, Cuddy and Fader. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined this evening by a team of engineers from JMC. Got Paul Sysak somewhere, Anthony Lucioni, and Mark Petroro. We also have the applicant's architect. Unfortunately, the applicant couldn't make it this evening. So for the sake of some new faces on the board, I'll just give you guys a brief background on this project. We submitted an application last May to subdivide 81-89 South Highland Avenue and subdivide the eastern portion of it, creating approximately 1.12 acre lot. On that 1.12 acre lot, the applicant's proposing 5 townhouse units. Each unit will be approximately 3,000 square feet with its own parking and garages. Since the last meeting, at the last meeting, we understood that there were 3 outstanding comments that we were looking at to address. One was landscaping details, another one was site distances for leaving the site, another one was the stormwater management infrastructure design. Since the last meeting, the applicant, or our engineers have revised the the landscaping plans to include mostly predominantly native species for all the plantings. I'll let the engineers talk about that shortly after, about the arborvitaes over in this, along the northern lot line, which they feel is a much more suitable, creates a much more suitable buffer for its purposes than any native species would. Similarly, we have reached out to the neighbor of the adjoining lot. They've agreed to allow us to trim back some bushes and some trees so we can increase the sightline out of the property, so anyone leaving the site will have better visibility looking down Holbrook and down Walden Road. We've also submitted a preliminary stormwater report. We've got some initial feedback earlier, and we're working to address the comments on those from the village's consulting engineers. And my team's going to keep working on that and hopefully address those comments as soon as possible. Considering this application's been before this board for several months now, and we believe we've addressed most of the outstanding comments, assuming nothing significant comes up that would delay this project tonight, we're asking for this board to close the public hearing tonight and act on the application. Of course, we're looking forward to hearing what the public has to say and anyone else interested. So, if this board has any other questions specifically for me or for the engineers, we're happy to respond and provide any more detail as sees fit.
Okay, thank you. That's all. Open it up to the board if anyone has any questions on, I think Dan?
Correct.
Dan kind of encapsulated sort of where we were last month. You know, we've certainly moved forward. I think we're going to get into some issues tonight and try to work through some things. Anyone have comments with regard to some of the things that we talked about? Yeah. So Dan, just a quick question. When you talked about improving this view shed here to make the turns, safer or at least more visible, you're saying the neighbor to the south, right? Is that where you're gonna?
I guess it's the southeast.
So you're pulling out?
Yes. Whoever owns this little triangle right here.
This triangle?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is the triangle before you get into Warwick, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All of the trimmings and, bush removal or bush trimming would be within the village of Austin.
So essentially, we'd sort of have more of a line of sight that would
Correct.
sort of clean things over this way?
Correct. I'm not sure, do you guys have any photos shown there?
Good evening, my name is Mark Pacharo from JMC. I'm a professional licensed engineer and a professional traffic operations engineer as well. I'm here just briefly just walk you through some of the site distance that you're mentioning. As you had mentioned, it is the property to the southeast here, shown in the green shade on this plan, not on that plan, sorry. The green shaded area here is the area that would be trimmed as far as the trees that are in there to enhance the visibility looking right out of the driveway. As far as it's a low traffic generation as far as the development, so there's not a very busy amount of traffic that would be going in and out of there. You're talking about a maximum of 2 trips exiting during the peak AM hour out of the 5 townhouse development, residential development. And Walden Road and Holbrook Road is not a very heavily traveled roadway. When we were out there just this afternoon, probably counted about 25 vehicles over the course of 30 minutes traveling that road versus 9A, you're looking at 1,500 vehicles in an hour. So that's just some of the improvements that we've been working on to enhance that visibility looking to the right out of the driveway there.
Okay. So that would be a condition that would survive the closing, perpetually, that you guys would try to keep that view shed open or keep that line of sight open, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
not just something one time just to.
Yeah. We would continue to work with them to see if there's any, future growth, but the idea is to trim the trees, but leave the bases, don't totally uproot any of the trees, but basically trim them down so that it probably takes some time to grow back up essentially, but if it needs to, then maintain that visibility.
Okay.
So, just to, quick clarification, you're talking about, you said you're gonna cut trees but leave the bases, so you're gonna have a bunch of stumps, just,
Yeah, Anthony Guccione, if I may, with JMC, I'm an associate principal at JMC, as well as a landscape architect. We were out there, we did take a look at the trees. The trees are the ones closest to the right-of-way that would want to be trimmed, and there's probably 3 trees there, and they're basically all hacked off at the top due to the utility lines there, so they're very deformed, and they should be taken down anyway. So the idea would be to cut them lower, don't disturb the ground, don't take out the root system, just cut them lower, and trees that should be taken down really anyway, because they're really all disturbing the utility lines. You can see it when you go out there, they're just deformed and hacked.
okay? But you're gonna cut them as close to grade as you
That would be the
can,
intention,
obviously.
correct.
Well, the challenge is that perpetually stuff grows back every year, so
Right.
whether it's from that stump or something else sprouting next to it.
Right, but that site easement will be on the site plan, and we could add language to it, you know, maintain vegetation no higher than 2 feet is typically what we do.
Right.
And it's incumbent on the old property owner to maintain that.
Yeah, the applicant would be happy to do that. You know, the whole thing's a wooded area, it's very shaded, nothing growing in there is of any value. It's all kind of trees that are really not in great shape.
Anyone else, questions, comments?
While we're just talking traffic, the speed bump that's still shown on the plan, we agreed we're gonna remove that.
Yeah, those should be removed, yeah.
Right, we sort of, the recap from last one was that the chief and the police department were the best ones to determine where to attenuate traffic around the village. We don't want to just do something one-off here and then, you know, find we created a problem, you know, quarter of a mile down the road. So. Anyone else here on the board care to? I think we can. What I think I want to do is open up to the public, allow them an opportunity to kind of speak, and then we can come back and talk about this. The EAC is here, so if there's questions, I mean, I think we'll get into that dialogue after we've had a chance for the public to at least speak to this. So that said, anybody here from the public care to speak to this, please step up to the microphone. And
Good evening. James Drone, 74A Walden Road. So tonight I just want to call back to take a look at their own site plan. It's 18069C-500. And it's a site plan for erosion and sediment. So basically it says that prior to beginning cleaning, they are to install silt fence around the property. Unfortunately, they have cleared, but they didn't install the silt fence, at least all of it. Then we could go down to item 5 in the same plan. And it states the contractor shall inspect and maintain site erosion and sediment control measures on a daily basis. That again has not been done.
Jim, just a quick observation. As far as I know, there really is no work started here other than some testing, I think.
They did, but according to, it says prior to beginning any clearing, grubbing, or excavation, they did have an excavator on the property. They did have some kind of boring machine to, I guess, to do test holes. But I just find it like, this project is so early on, and they don't even want to follow their own plans.
Well, let's keep it with comments regarding, like you said, silt fence, plantings, those things. I mean, you know, I know for a fact we haven't approved anything yet, so there's really, you know, no work commencing in full other than testing. And I'm not, you know, curious. I don't know if we insist upon silt fencing for a one-time thing to do testing. I mean, Joe, you
Typically
can
not.
speak.
Typically, it's a one-day endeavor. Contractor will come in with a small machine, backhoe, excavate test pits, excavate percolation test holes.
Right.
We witnessed those with the design engineer, and at the completion of the testing, everything's backfilled and the area cleaned up, stabilized, and the machine's taken off site. Because it's such a short-term disturbance and limited and backfilled that same day, typically doesn't warrant the need for silt fence because it's not an open graded area that's left to the elements for an extended duration of time. We can certainly talk to Joe, we can go out there and take a look, and if it seems like there's something out there that's out of the ordinary, we can talk to the owner and have them.
We, you know, as long as I've sat on this board, we've never had to issue a permit to do testing, like, because it's sort of just a one-day thing, perfunctory, you do it, you're done, you're out of there. There's, best of my knowledge, there's no equipment being stored down there, there's no trucking going on, there's
Nothing
nothing.
I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, so.
No, I mean, I agree with that. There's no trucking, the machine was moved.
Okay.
But however, you know, I'm just going off their plan that says, you know, what they're supposed to be doing and they're not doing it. And, you know, this is a very sensitive area with wetlands and, you know, a rather medium-sized stream. There's one other thing that I'd like to talk about. In the beginning, there is a turnaround. Well, yeah, I guess that's the turnaround for fire apparatus. They stated that they had a fire truck that would turn around in it. I did take our tower ladder out to do radius check, and I can tell you, I did the measurements on the tower ladder versus the turnaround, and it should take 3 to 4 times jockeying that truck back and forth, because it is 47 feet long, to try and get out of there. It is extremely dangerous, not dangerous, but extremely hard to get the vehicle out and make a left to go back to Austin. We could go out to Briarcliff, but I don't think that that should be acceptable because, you know, we're the Austin Fire Department.
So, I believe the fire chief was out there should be a letter somewhere that says he's satisfied with whatever turning radiuses were determined and, you know, put on the plan, so, you know, I haven't seen the letter, but I'm assuming we have it, so we'll verify that.
Okay, if you could, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the applicant, Paul, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got the specifications on the truck from the Austin Fire Department
Yes,
that you
we
used in the model for your turning
we
radius.
talked about those dimensions with them, and they saw it, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I did it in front of, I did this turning radius in front of 6 firefighters, and I even gave them the benefit of the doubt, and
Well, again, I don't wanna, you know, I don't wanna get into tit for tat, I just, you know, I know we're trying to follow all the rules. You know, Stuart, last month, Stuart Kahan spent time, you know, let us know that the chief was out there and that, you know, top brass or top administration of the fire department signed off on this, so, you know, we'll verify it should be in the file,
Okay.
and we'll go from there.
Will that letter be made available?
I think whatever we've done as a board is available, so
Okay.
whether it's our board or a component board or whoever we refer something to, the affiliated agency, it's all on record, it's all gonna be on the website.
Okay. And then just, does that turnaround meet New York State code, or at least Austin code? Because this is the first time I've ever seen a turnaround in the beginning of the property.
All right, so how many more things do you have? Because then what I'll do is I'll allow the applicant to just address those concerns, and again.
Well, I'm not gonna beat up on you, just 3
No,
times.
it's not about beating up, it's, you know, if you have valid points, make them, and, you know, we wanna get you the answers.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, I really do. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so, anyone else here to come to speak to that as a neighbor or from the public? And then I think I'll allow the applicant the opportunity to answer Jim's questions and anyone else's questions.
Good evening, my name is Roger Bacchera, and I live on 16 Holbrook Road. So this building came as quite a surprise to me. I spent quite a number of months trying to keep buildings like this from being built in my backyard, namely the one that's at the Phillips property. And so that is on a moratorium thanks to the Briarcliff Manor Village trustees. So tonight I'm here to talk to you about what it is that I experience on a day-to-day basis. So Holbrook Road is used as a secondary thoroughfare for all those who are stuck on Route 9. Holbrook Road, in the mornings from anywhere between 6:30 till roughly about 9:30, could see a pretty long mass of cars that are waiting in line to bypass all of the Route 9 traffic. Secondly, this is not an area of townhouses. This is an area of single-family homes. there's a tremendous amount of concern here around having anything that's built that looks like that it does not fit in with the neighborhood, to destroy the values of us as homeowners down in that area. But I think the most important and compelling part here is the fact that we're going to build some additional units, trying to create a precedent for dense units in an area that is not designed to be that way. And we're going to introduce more children into the Ossining School District in this type of building. We couldn't predict exactly what it was going to be. They can have numbers, but this can change. This can change very rapidly. This is not senior housing. This is not special housing. This happens to be housing for anybody who can buy this. And quite honestly, adding more cars onto what Holbrook Road has become a thoroughfare to bypass that Route 9 traffic, that is not acceptable. We cannot have this, and this should not continue. And as a resident, I object to this building, and I ask that you do not allow this to go forward tonight.
So question for you, are you a village resident or are you a
I'm a
Briarcliff resident?
I'm a Briarcliff resident, and I live on Holbrook Road.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay. Anyone else from the public care to speak to this?
So my name is Aaron Spring. I'm not a village resident. Village of Briarcliff Manor resident. Quick disclaimer before I start speaking. My views and opinions do not represent those of the Ossining Union Free School District or the Ossining Board of Education. I'm here as an individual displaying my own beliefs and asking my own questions. These are thoughts and opinions of Aaron Spring and Aaron Spring only. So I just had a couple concerns I wanted to bring up. And while I don't speak for the school district, I do believe I speak for the trees who have no tongues, similar to the Lorax. The EAC made comments and suggestions regarding this property, and the lawyer from this property essentially wrote and said that the EAC should be completely ignored and their assessment should be ignored. I don't know what the planning board is going to do about that, but I just ask that you look at what the EAC is saying, because I believe they are displaying the facts here. On a school standpoint, we are one of the most underfunded school districts in the state in terms of foundation aid funding. And as Roger just alluded to, we are also overcrowded. So I just ask that you think before we continue to put kids into a district that's already overcrowded and underfunded, is it fair to add one more kid to a district where he or she is not going to have the resources to get the proper education that they are constitutionally entitled to? Another thing I want to bring up is the fact that Birchbrook really, at this point, they're terrible neighbors. If you drive by that complex, they have dumpsters in the fire lanes. So talking about the fire department supports this project, or the idea that a truck can get in there, if a truck goes into Birchbrook right now, you have dumpsters blocking the fire lanes. That's illegal. And also, if you look around the dumpsters, there's trash everywhere. There's trash all over this property. They can't even maintain the property they have now. We want to extend them.
So Aaron, what we kind of want to do is stick to the issues of this particular site that's getting developed. I mean, you know, I hear what you're saying, those could be code enforcement issues. I mean, if people do see issues over at the existing site, they're free to, you know, reach out to our building department and they'll go out there and address dumpsters or egress or whatever, that would get dealt with. So we want to try to keep this germane to what we're looking at here.
But
I understand it's all one site, but, you know, we're tasked with reviewing this tonight. I'm not, because this came up a few times the last few months, you know, I don't want to get into personalities or, you know, we don't like this owner or he's not a good, you know, has
I
nothing to do here.
understand, Chairman, but at the same time, this is a matter of fact that if they can't maintain the current property that they have, by what logic would we extend them property, especially when they can now litter in this new lot and it'll go right into the stream? How is that being environmentally conscious? So I understand what you're saying, Chairman, but at the same time, if they can't follow current precedent, I don't trust them to follow future precedent or to set a precedent for future consciousness, especially when it comes to the environment. And I only know you, Chairman. I don't know anybody else on this board. I assume you're all good people and you care about this village and this town. Otherwise, you wouldn't be volunteering your time. So I just ask that you represent us, the people of this village and of this town, and not give in to the developers and their lawyers and their architects. Because frankly, these people don't live here. You know, they're going to make their money off these townhouses. They're going to, you know, skip town and they're going to profit off us. And we have to deal with the aftermath. So again, I'm sure, you know, thank you for volunteering your time. I'm sure you truly care about this town and this village. So please represent us, the people. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, board. Shane Farrell, 78 Ward Road, property right next door to where it's being built. Just a few questions. I know it was brought up, but I just had to add to it because I guess they'll address the turnaround. I saw something marked emergency turnaround. Again, my same question was, isn't the point of a turnaround so trucks don't have to back up and turn around? It defeats all logic having it in the beginning. It's not safe. The whole point of the fire code is for safety. Also, they did mention that it's out of code anyway. So even if it's not in code, I mean, I'm concerned, is this board allowing something that's not to fire code to be, to be
So,
done?
I mean, I think we've spoken to that, I think we'll.
That the location and arrangement for that turnaround was driven by a meeting with the fire chief.
Correct, but it's not up to code. I just want to make it clear that
Well,
I said on the meeting.
It's his ultimate decision what
That's fine, I'm
satisfies.
just making it known that it's not up to code, and if you guys are accepting that something's not up to code, I just want those responsibilities and liabilities on people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
know that it doesn't meet code.
I don't wanna split hairs, I think the best thing is just, look, we'll have that letter, and
Yeah.
it'll show what it shows.
Right, just
You know,
wanted
if
to
we,
make,
as a
just
volunteer board,
make it understand. No problem.
depend and count on our, consultants and our advisors, and if they
Right.
say it works,
Right, if it works, it works, but I just want to make sure, is it up to code or not? I know they said it wasn't at the last meeting, so. Also, there's two streams on the property, I want to make that clear, there's two streams. Two, medium to large streams. Both with wetlands on them. One has, I believe they're gonna be steep slopes on it, right next to the driveway. I'm just concerned, there's a lot of erosion already. Now they wanna cut within those wetlands area, I believe, it seems like, from what I can see. I'm concerned about that, and, in the future, the erosion happening and the driveway become compromised. I wanna make sure that we're doing the right thing, because those are some steep slopes, and that would cause a problem there. Also, I just had a question. On the picture, and I don't know, is it up to scale or not, but it appears the driveway goes past the property line. So like out into the road, out the property line. Is that just up to scale? Is that normal? That's just the concern.
The physical connection.
Yeah, right, yeah,
drive
so
to the
on
road.
it goes, a couple feet outside the property line, so I just.
Yeah, that's typically, everybody's driveway at some point goes into the.
No,
town
not
right
into
away.
the roadway. I'm talking
assuming
about to
this
the
is the
left of.
property line.
That
Towards
there's
my
not the property
property.
line. They're connecting to what you see as the edge of pavement.
Right, which, again, if they have frontage on a public street, they're allowed. to-
Yeah, no, it just looks like they're outside of, with their property line, so I didn't know what the driveway codes were, if they're up to par with the driveway codes, that's all, I'm just asking you guys to review it, that's all. Appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think that's it for the public comment. If the applicant would like to just come up and address some of those points.
I think there's more public comment.
Oh, there is? Then please step up.
Martin Farrell, 58 Ferris Place. I did used to live actually at 78 Walden Road. And I guess I have the same concerns. One about the streams and the environmental piece. Plus, I lived there for most of my life, and I think the traffic is a lot more than was said. As the other gentleman said, it is a throughway, so there's a lot more traffic than, maybe today there was only 25 cars, but many times I've seen a lot more traffic through there, and just the safety concerns of, that everybody's brought up, so.
Well, I think, truthfully, all of us on this board live in the village. I mean,
Yeah.
we've all seen traffic increase. I mean, through my neighborhood, it's, right, it is, you're right. Route 9,
And
people are always
school, a lot
looking
of
for.
people, high school's right there, so those kids
Right.
come.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
truth be told, I lived on Walden Road for many years myself, so I'm familiar with the location. I mean, but we're all kind of challenged with the same thing now. Everybody sort of is looking for a quicker way to get through our village.
Yep.
And we don't live in a vacuum. What happens in Briarcliff, up in Croton, we kind of stick our head in the sand here. They're gonna be doing things, and we're gonna get their traffic anyway, so this is, it has a global aspect to it, but, this is the reality of where we are now these days. And I think every community deals with this traffic issue.
So I think that's why I just wanted to bring up some of the current concerns, and I think a lot of other people have the exact same concerns.
Right.
Thank you.
So anyone else here from the public before I turn it back to the applicant? All right, guys, that's it.
Thank you. So a couple of the items that were raised. First start with the S&E plan and the testing. All that was done out there was some preliminary geotechnical testing. They did some borings, trying to determine at what elevation rock is, if there's groundwater, things like that. So that's pretty typical. The contractor did put up some silt fence where there was a chance of erosion along the top of the watercourse area. So just to put belts and suspenders, but there was the only excavation was right at the entrance. There was a little knob that had to be taken down to get the machine in there, and that was what that was for. They're actually going out one more day this week to finalize the testing, as Mr. Tremelli had mentioned, the infiltration testing. So they did some borings, and now they'll do some infiltration testing so we can finish up our stormwater report. That's
Right, so
necessary.
I understand, I know the SWIP came in, I think either late yesterday
Yes,
or,
sir.
okay. So we'll continue to repeat that.
Yeah, the SWIP, it reflected the same design that's been on the plans. We have a subsurface stormwater management system at 64 storm deck chambers. There's pre-treatment before it goes into there. There's a CDS hydrodynamic water separator, cleans out the impurities, collects any trash, grit, all that, and it filters that out before it goes into the system. Then from the system, it's released at a controlled rate, so we make sure there's no higher rate of water going off the site after development than there is prior to development. So that's what that, and then on the back side of the units, we're looking at putting in a bioretention area. That would be a green practice that would treat the water going in the other direction, and that's another thing where we're going to take a look and see what the soils are like to see how that design, whether we need under drains or not, and different things, the details. Okay. As far as the turning for the fire truck, so we did meet with the fire department. We had several members here, as well as some staff from the village. We laid that out with them. So what it is you can't have more than 150-foot dead end per the fire code. They weren't comfortable approving that. I think it was about 170 feet. So what we agreed to was putting a turnaround at the beginning, so the dead end portion is under 150 feet, and the trucks would pull in. They could back into that K-turn, U-turn, and then pull back out into the road. So that meets the requirements of Appendix K and the Appendix D, I'm sorry, in the New York State Fire Code. So, and we did put a truck on that, did a truck's turning simulation to make sure they get out. I don't think we need the tallest tower truck, the longest tower truck to get in. There's the 2-story units, so that was what we spoke to them about modeling it after. And if you look on, I think it's C901 is one of our detail sheets. That auto turn analysis is actually on the detail sheet.
And again, remind me, we're also going to have the structures will be sprinkled too, fire sprinkled?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, John, right?
in addition to,
Yeah, it'll be sprinkled. Okay. Another comment, talked about the density and the school children. The Rutgers study, that's a very accepted planning tool, says you would have potentially 3 school children here. And this is a modest development, 5 units. It's not an expansive development in terms of what's going on there. So the applicant was not trying to overextend the number of units or make it very large. It's just what comfortably fits, given the constraints of the site. And the 3 school children is probably conservative because it's really being marketed to nice finishes, upscale finishes that would really be marketable more to empty nesters that would be coming in there. There's no restrictions proposed on that, but that's what typically is anticipated in a unit like this. The streams, we talked about the trees a little bit. Yeah, as far as whatever's going on the neighboring apartment buildings, we'll talk to the applicant. He may not be aware if something's got to be cleaned up. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to do that. I know he's put a lot of effort into upgrading his facility there, doing new windows and a lot of upgrades internal to the building. So I think that was enumerated in an earlier letter to the board. And yeah, and so other things he's doing. So he'll be happy to address that if that is an issue.
so just so a quick, backtrack on the planting. We tasked the EAC with really looking at the,
Yeah.
non-invasive planting to
Yeah.
help us develop sort of a curriculum for the right planting to be on site. Am I understanding correctly, you guys proposed, what, arborvitae or something?
Yeah, let me talk about that. So in connection with the turnaround,
To be clear, arborvitae is a native species.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
the green
just so
giant,
we're
though.
talking.
Yeah, so we have no issue with that.
you don't, good. The green giant isn't necessarily on the list, so that's one that people
Right,
feel
it's a
differently
cultivar,
about.
right.
It's a cultivar,
Yeah,
exactly.
So
but it's
for-
not gonna, it's a well-behaved plant.
Exactly. A lot of the plants we had were, obviously we didn't have anything invasive on the original plant list. But sometimes when you're in a more manicured setting, it's nice to have some things that are not necessarily native and on that list. But with that said, we went and, we reworked the whole plant list, came up with all things that are native to the lower Hudson Valley. The only one we didn't want to talk to you about was the arborvitae, and they're going right in here. So we changed the, I think we had Dragon Lady hollies before, we changed them to American hollies. And then that's the one place we left the arborvitae. It's really the best thing there. It's deer resistant, grows fairly quickly, and it fills in well, more than most things.
They're up to their, where they could stand on their hind legs.
They're doing well in my house. About the only thing that is.
So for the benefit of the public, we have several members of our EAC here
Yeah.
tonight to help kind of just talk about this planting and,
Yeah.
if there are any other issues other than that.
Yeah, we're
Chat
willing
about
to make those changes. It's, it's becoming more and more common that municipalities want to see all native plantings. We try to do it in a smart way where we get a mix of aesthetic and, non-invasives. But if you want to go pure native, then it just changes the look of it a little bit, but that's
There's
fine.
enough of a demand now
Yeah.
that the nurseries are carrying
Yeah.
attractive natives.
It helps the wildlife, and there's a lot of benefits to it, so that's not an issue. We're happy to do that. Was there anything I missed there? The traffic, they're talking about the traffic again with 5 units, very low traffic, trip generator, like Mark was saying before, 2 exiting trips in the peak hour, that's 1 trip, 1 car every half hour, leaving the development in the morning. A total of 4, I think, in the peak PM hour, in and out, so it's kind of 1 out, 1 in and 2 out, or 3 out. So they're very low numbers. When you're talking about 4 cars in the peak hour, you're talking about a car every 15 minutes, or 2 exiting trips is 1 every 30 minutes. So very low traffic generator, so we're not anticipating really having an impact on the roadway network with these 5 units.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How do you calculate those trips?
It is based on ITE manuals that we can take trip generation rates from that are standard in the industry and apply them to different types of units, and then you just do the
Because
calculations.
I don't have the letter in front of me right now, but the letter that was sent today, I believe, or yesterday, mentioned that at 1.3 trips and another 0.2 trips.
So, the traffic data is based on a national publication. It's published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. It's called the Trip Generation Manual, where it takes data from existing land uses that they're based on the existing land uses. For different land uses, it can project out how many trips are anticipated based on whatever the land use is, based on square footage or number of units. For this case, it's number of units. In total, the development is projected to generate a total of 3 trips total, 1 entering and 2 exiting in the AM peak hour. In the PM, it's a total of 4 trips, 3 entering and 1 exiting in the PM hour. Those are what the numbers that are projected based on the manual. And again, this manual is based on counts that are done in existing facilities. So there is a good sample of sizes as far as number of developments and the units. So it is a national standard that is used for developments though.
What's the variance on that estimate?
Basically, you're looking at 1 trip difference.
The variance of 1 trip, so they feel like there's no way there's gonna be 5 trips in the morning, it's gonna be 3 or at the most 4.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to do it, if you're getting real technical, as far as, there's 2 different scenarios, but there's one where you get a difference of 3 and 2 in the morning, or in the afternoon, it's 4 and 3. So we went conservative, given those numbers that I had just mentioned to you, so we're showing the highest numbers that the manual is stating.
Okay. Applicant, anyone else care to speak to this?
Can I speak?
Please.
I'd just briefly like to speak on behalf of our client, the integrity of our client, and make a few clarifications. Rajiv Kapoor is our interface representative of the family. He has attended all the previous meetings. He unfortunately is away tonight. The Kapoor family owns that property. They're not really the prototypical developer by any sort of metric or measure. They've owned that property since the mid-1970s. They take pride in owning that property. I was at the property Sunday. We were at the property again today. I thought it was, my impression is it always is, it's well kept. There are not elements that were described tonight. I didn't see them Sunday. I will go by tonight on my way home, and if I see anything that represents some of the notions that were shared here tonight, we will reach out to the Kapoor family. They've invested, this is 89 Highland is an important element in our community fabric. It's quietly supported our affordable housing initiatives for 40 years. They've reinvested $1.6 million in this property as local property owners over the past 5 years, including introducing the first solar arrays on this property. So they have a long-term vision for this property. It's not a short-term vision.
Are you talking about the old property or the new property?
The old property.
We have pictures from today with old tires on it, littered everywhere.
Well, let's do this, guys. I don't wanna, I wanna
So
really keep this
I will
germane.
be happy to go by and see these. I did not see the
So we really want to keep this germane to what we're reviewing as a planning board and as a BAR. I appreciate the candor and the comments by everybody, but let's kind of keep
The
our
final
eyes crossed
comment,
here.
the team members include residents of this community. I've lived in this community for 33 years. Been a part of this board in volunteer time for 26 years. So to cast the notion that this is an in and out developer and an in and out design team is miscast and misrepresented.
So you know the ins and outs of this planning board, and you're still representing a company stepping in
So,
front of this planning board.
guys,
Is that not a
let's-
conflict of interest?
It is not.
That is a conflict.
I'm gonna call everybody to order, remind them that they have to address the board. They shouldn't be having conversations between the two sides of the aisles. If you have a question or comment, you address this board, and then it'll be answered. Thank you.
Yeah, hi again, it's Roger Bhattacharya, 16 Holbrook Road. I will say that, the concern about adding in 2, 3, 4 more trips, whatever it might be, will actually have a deleterious impact on the Holbrook Road thoroughfare. I will ask very kindly of each of you to consider taking this to a next meeting where there will be people that live in that area who would like to come out and speak as well. There are many people that are in that area that are not aware of this because they are part of the Village of Briarcliff Manor. And they live at that Macy Road, Walden Road, Holbrook Road junction. So that's my ask for tonight. Thank you.
So we've been working on this for several months. I believe this started in late spring. There's been plenty of opportunities for people to come out here. The spaces I've seen here since the first night this was proposed. So, we're being very transparent, very open. I mean, truth be told, I think the applicant's been fair in their characterizations. We've asked them to do things, they've submitted things. So, I'm gonna stop you there because we've kind of got the gist of, where everybody is right now. So we'll continue to work on this. I don't think we're voting on anything tonight because we have to review the stormwater plan. And I think there's some other final details that need to get worked out, but, again, we're here, and you're certainly entitled to comment, but, I'll have you know, these guys have been, again, very straightforward with us. We've asked them for things, they've produced, so, you have to understand, this isn't sort of something that, it just didn't happen last week. We've been working on this for several months, and, I think there's been genuine, goodwill by the applicant, and I think if we've had concerns, they've gone back to the drawing board, and like, Joe and some of our other consultants have said, they've said, we'll do that, and then we'll take it to the next level, so.
Yeah, I don't dispute their genuineness and what they've tried to do, but I will tell you that there is a very large constituent of people that are going to be impacted by all of this that are not aware because they do not get any of the notes from Village of Ossining. And so I think this is an opportunity to get people out to come out and speak.
Thank you. All right, I think we've kind of covered everything, so I'll let the applicant just wrap. I think we're done with public comment at this point because I don't think there's anything new to bring to the table tonight, so I'm going to let the applicant have sort of the final word on this so that we can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for acknowledging the effort we've put in. I know it's been a very long and kind of a lot of things going on in this project, and the applicant's been he's been trying very hard, so we appreciate that this board acknowledges that. Just to wrap up, I'll just address one thing. We did notice the appropriate radius, and that does include Briarcliff Manor residents, so anyone within the radius, even if they're in the Village Briarcliff Manor, did receive notice.
No, you did not.
So I guess if this board's not going to vote tonight, kind of ask this board to confirm with the applicant or with us what exactly is outstanding. I know it's the stormwater stuff as well, but is there anything else that we can address before next meeting so we can put ourselves in a better position to hopefully get this wrapped up next month, if this needs to be held over.
I know, Joe, one of the big things this fall will be this SWIP.
Yeah, as far as secret goes and being able to close that, I think that's probably, we have some other detail issues that will get worked out. But from a secret standpoint, I think we need to get the SWIP resolved. I'm just looking through my comments. Sounds like we've resolved the planting concerns that EAC had, and that'll be confirmed with their submission. We'll have, well, I think we already have confirmation from the fire department.
Yeah,
We
I think it's
confirmed
important
that.
just to get that out to everybody so that doesn't become sort of the, that drum doesn't keep getting beat. Let's get that, resolved.
I think that's your last real hurdle to this.
Okay.
And Amanda, Amanda's new, this is her, first meeting, so, I don't know if there's any issue, from a legal standpoint, or,
I think it was, the SWIP was the major detail that we were waiting for, and making sure that Keller Sessions has enough time to review it and get any feedback to you.
So have you had any feedback from the health department with regard to sewer and water? Are they gonna be considered mains, or extensions of the main? I don't know if you have that, ownership resolved, or how that's gonna play out.
Yeah, well, the intention is to design them as if they're mains, so, whether they're purchase units or rentals for some portion of time, they can have individual doors and individual services. So we would design that as a main coming in down the driveway, and then bring 5 separate services off for sewer and
Right.
water.
that said, I guess we'll reconvene next month, and hopefully we can move this to
We'll
completion.
get you the details as soon as we have them.
Thanks
very much, appreciate it.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thanks.
And I'd like to again thank our EAC for coming
Yeah, I
out
just
tonight.
wanted to share with you guys that, just to introduce what my.
Let's do this, let me close out our meetings. I think
Okay.
essentially we're done, that was the last item on the agenda, so, basically any old business, new business. That being said, I guess
Do
I
you
guess.
want to, are there minutes to approve? Or are we gonna?
We don't really approve minutes anymore, I guess we're just, they're prepared, I'm signing off on it, we're not voting on
Oh, okay.
minutes, I know Stuart kind of discussed that with you. or-
No,
I
I'm
mean,
just
we-
asking
we'd
if
always,
it's on
for
the
years,
agenda.
voted on the minutes, but we're, basically Stuart said we don't technically have to, we just, they're prepared, and I just sign them.
I'm just asking, cause.
So if anybody had any comments on the minutes, if they want any corrections, I guess
Yeah,
that's your main.
that's a good question.
So, anybody, did everybody have a chance to review last month's minutes? Comments or questions, please let us know if Jamie can make any edits. So that said, call for adjournment, motion to adjourn. Seth, second? Second. Michael, all in favor, aye, great, thank you guys. Meeting adjourned.